everyone, we are going to have two lessons on key signature. The first part is going to be about the components of the key signature, which are sharps, flats, or that really could be naturals in a key signature if we switch from one to the other. We'll learn what they look like and what they do to pitches, how they move pitches around. The place that it's located is at the beginning of the song, right after the clef sign, which we learn names the treble clef names the second line G, and it's right before the time signature, which really tells us about the counting system of the piece. So it's kind of got its own little area here, and after the time signature, then we will deal with sharps, flats, and naturals called accidentals. But this area here, you'll always look for the key signature. And so the goal for the lesson is to be able to draw a sharp, a flat, or a natural and describe what they do. It's helpful to look at the piano keyboard to understand how sharps, flats, and naturals alter pitches. I'm going to start with the A key on the piano, and as you go to the right on the piano, you will make pitches higher. As you go to the left, you'll make them lower. And so what a sharp does, if you sharp this A, it will raise the pitch by 1/2 step or move to the adjacent key to the right, which happens to be a black key. If we natural that again, if we put a natural sign on this A sharp, it will go back down to the left for A natural. If we put a flat sign before that A, it would tell the player to lower that pitch by 1/2 step, which is the adjacent key to the left, that black key. That's the A flat. And if we put a natural sign on that one, it would go back up again to the A. The way that sharps, flats, and naturals work on the violin is that we change the length of the string by moving fingers around, and by lengthening it we make the sound lower, and by shortening it we make them higher. Unlike the piano keyboard where we go to the right and left, this is more of pulling the finger away from the bridge to make the string longer for flats, and then as we sharp, we shorten the string or come closer to the bridge. And so we do this by half steps, and on the piano I showed you an A. It might be easier to show you the G string A, and so that would be our first finger down here. So if I were to sharp that A, I would shorten the string closer to the bridge by moving the finger up here. More likely though, I would just add my second finger. It's a little bit more comfortable to keep that first finger on that first tape and then just add the second finger for the A sharp. But I could also move that up without moving the thumb. We want to keep the thumb in the same place, usually in a position. And so that would be sharping the A. If we were going to flat the A, we would lengthen the string out, bring it closer back to the nut, and that would make the pitch sound lower. For instance, here's the A, and then I would lower the first finger back here for A flat, noticing that my thumb pretty much stays in the same place. So we've got A flat, A sharp, or the second finger. It's a little bit more complicated when we do the open A, because we can't go any lower, we can't make the string any longer than this length between the bridge and the nut. And so then we have to kind of get over to the string lower, the D string, and we would either raise up the third finger G, which is the same as an A flat, or we would put a fourth finger next to that G for the A flat, because that would be A. Now that you've seen how sharps, flats, and naturals work on the piano and on the violin, I'd like you to take a look at the symbols that tell you when to sharp, flat, or natural notes. And so the sharp sign looks like this, and it raises the pitch by 1/2 step. A flat sign is this symbol, and that can lower a pitch by 1/2 step. And then this symbol here is a natural sign, and that takes away one of these, and it really can move notes either way. And so now we're going to show you how to draw these symbols. When you're drawing the sharp sign, I'd like you to be aware of the way that the lines are drawn, where it's not like a tic-tac-toe sign where it's both horizontal and vertical, and it's not like a hashtag where these lines are horizontal that would get mixed up with the staff lines, but it's more this way where these lines are vertical and then these will go a little bit diagonal so that it's not confused with the lines on the staff. And so when you're drawing a sharp, then you'll do these two lines vertical and these two lines will be at a diagonal. It's important to know how to draw the sharp sign on the staff and how to recognize which line or space it's on so that you know what the name of the sharp is. So I'm going to draw a sharp sign on this top line, which happens to be the line F. And so when I place a sharp on this, it's going to take on the name F, and we'll draw the vertical lines kind of equal distance around that line. And then the diagonal ones, I want to do it so that that middle box area is around that line. So the line is going through this little box area right there, and that takes on the name of F, so we would call it an F sharp. The way you would draw a flat sign on the staff is so that the little area here, it looks like a lowercase b that's a little squashed, and this area here will mark the line or the space so that it would, if it was a line note, it would be going right through there, or if it was in a space, it would be inside of the space. So I'm going to draw a B flat right there, and so that is saying that this flat takes on the name B, which happens to be that middle line. But if we were going to put it in a space, it would look like this, where that bottom little part of the flat sign is within that space or between those lines, and that would take on the name E. That's an E flat. The way you would draw a natural sign is to draw a 7 and an L, sort of like this. You draw the L and the 7, where it creates a box right in here. These lines here just a little bit diagonal so it doesn't get confused with the horizontal lines of the staff. And that cancels a sharp or a flat that's already occurred. And so let's say that there was a sharp on the F and that there was a sharp on the C. And then somewhere later in the piece we wanted to take away that C sharp. Well, you would have to put this natural sign in the same space, or it would be this one here, for our natural to cancel that sharp. If we were wanting to cancel the F sharp, which is on the top line of the staff, then we would put a natural sign on the top line, and we would have that little box area right there surrounding that line, or the line going through that. Why is it so important that we understand what sharps, flats, and naturals look like and how they alter pitches? Well, you can see here that there's a lot of different choices, not just the musical alphabet from A to G, but every one of those letters has a sharp version and a flat version. And so when the key signature will tell us which notes we're going to sharp or flat, we would need to choose one version over the other. And so, for instance, in this key signature, we have an F sharp and a C sharp here. We wouldn't be able to play a C or a C flat. We would need to play the C sharp. And so if you were playing a C sharp, but somebody else kind of ignored what was happening here and they played a C, it would clash and it would sound a little bit funny. So I think of this as being like 3 different forms of the same letter, sort of like water has 3 different forms, the gas form, the solid form, and the liquid form, and that the key signature can be sort of like an iceberg, where this is just the tip of all of the information that's happening within the piece based on that key signature. And eventually we would even have something called accidentals, and there's a lot of rules that go with that. And so this can be something that looks pretty small, like the tip of an iceberg, but there's a lot happening, and we've got a lot of choices to make. And so in order for us to play in tune, we really do need to understand how sharps, flats, and naturals work. Now it's time to achieve the goal of our lesson, which was to draw a sharp, a flat, and a natural, and to describe what they do to notes. For instance, a sharp will raise a note by a half step, a flat will lower a note by a half step, and naturals can move notes either way by half steps based on what they're canceling, either a sharp or a flat. And these drawings can be either drawn with the scribble tool in Google Docs, or you can take a picture of your drawing and submit it that way, along with a description of a written description of how these work. And so it is very important for us to get this part of our two-part lesson done, so that next time we can talk about the actual key signature more and the rules that go along with that, including accidentals, and that's where the magic happens. Thank you.